WrestleMania is the big occasion for the biggest and theoretically best matches. However, sometimes what fans see at the granddaddy of them all is bettered the next time that very same match is presented. While the big stage may make the WrestleMania match linger longer in the memory, rematches from other supposedly lesser pay-per-views and even those that take place on free TV were sometimes more rewarding. Of course, sometimes the next time is at WrestleMania itself, and the do-over ends up doing a better job at living up to its billing. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WrestleMania rematches better than the original. Join us! Number 10, Randy Orton vs CM Punk at Extreme Rules 2011. The advent of the Extreme Rules pay-per-view presented WWE with the opportunity to repeat WrestleMania rematches with added stipulations. Sometimes this resulted in a better match than at WrestleMania, sometimes it didn't. Randy Orton and new Nexus leader CM Punk had a rather ordinary but solid match at Mania 27, the most noteworthy thing about it being the finish, as the Legend Killer turned Punk's springboard clothesline attempt into an RKO. Two men of their talent deserved better than being sandwiched between a throwaway 8-man tag and the lamentable Michael Cole-Jerry Lawler fiasco, and they were given the opportunity to open Extreme Rules in a last man standing match. With the new Nexus barred from ringside, Punk and Orton wasted no time in scrapping in and around the ring, and it wasn't too long before the weapons came out. The match turned into a real war of attrition as they pounded on each other, a particularly brutal moment coming when Punk nailed Randy with the chair and sent him crashing into the ring post. The finish was another spectacular one, as the Viper hit a super duper RKO from the top rope after regular and announce table versions failed to get the job done, finally putting Punk down for the 10 count. Number 9, The Undertaker vs Batista at Backlash 2007. Popped squarely in the mid-card at WrestleMania 23, Batista and The Undertaker made a vow to try and steal the show and prove that their World Heavyweight title clash deserved to go on later in the night. They proved their point and then some, putting together a blockbusting power-based match that easily could have gone on last. As great as the match was, they bettered it just 4 weeks later when the Dead Man defended his newly won belt against the Animal in a last man standing match. Given 5 extra minutes and a juicy stipulation to work with, Taker and Big Dave left it all in the ring and around the ringside area and ultimately off the side of the stage. That is where the match finished up as a draw after Batista speared his opponent down there, setting sparks flying and a part of the set tumbling. It was an explosive finish to what had been an explosive and intriguing match, one of several great ones between the two warhorses that year. Number 8, Sheamus vs Daniel Bryan at Extreme Rules 2012. Fans had high hopes when it came to Daniel Bryan's World Heavyweight title defense against Sheamus at WrestleMania 28. When the two men were sent out to kick off the main show, the assumption was that they would do so in style. Instead, the so-called match was over in 18 seconds after D-Bry accepted a good luck kiss from AJ Lee and promptly got his beardy little face bro-kicked clean off. It was a massive disappointment to those who wanted to see them, actually wrestle and stuff, but fans wouldn't have to wait too long to see just what they were capable of. The rematch was booked for Extreme Rules later in the month, and as an added bonus, it was given the extreme stipulation of 2 out of 3 falls. More than one fall? May God have mercy on their souls. Given a generous 23 minutes to do their thing, this was everything the WrestleMania match could and really should have been, the unique reception from the Chicago crowd adding an extra element to proceedings. The Celtic Warrior attained clean with the bro kick, but the American Dragon could be satisfied he lasted longer than the time it takes to have a piss. Number 7, CM Punk vs Rey Mysterio at Extreme Rules 2010. Rey Mysterio and CM Punk had quite the heated rivalry heading into WrestleMania 26, with the leader of the Straight Edge Society taking it upon himself to terrorize the Masked Man's family. Sadly, the most noteworthy thing about their average 6.5-minute match at the Showcase of the Immortals was their choice of ring attire, with CM Punk rocking the G.I. Joe-inspired gear while Mysterio opted to pay tribute to Avatar. That's the record-breaking film, by the way, not the attempted Power Rangers cash-in played by Al Snow. Rey got the win at Mania, leading some to think their feud might be over before it really got the chance to get going, but thankfully they would be booked for a couple more major matches down the road. The first was made for Extreme Rules 2010, with the added stipulation that if Punk lost, he would have to shave his head. With double the time they got at Mania, Punk and Mysterio put in a great shift and ably demonstrated their enviable chemistry during a cracking back-and-forth battle, which ended with the Second City Saint barely eking out a victory thanks to a timely assist from a mystery masked man. Not fun when people in hoods hit you, is it, Ray? Number 6, Brock Lesnar vs. The Undertaker at SummerSlam 2015. Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker and breaking the Phenom's legendary streak at WrestleMania 30 is one of the biggest moments in WWE history. As huge and polarizing as the moment was, it has to be said that the match that came before the result was actually a bit of a slog. A big reason for that is due to Taker suffering a nasty concussion during the bout's early stages, but there was very little crowd heat or drama prior to that third and decisive F5. It took over a year for the Dead Man to seek vengeance on the Beast Incarnate, their rivalry heating up significantly in time for SummerSlam 2015. There were questions over Taker's conditioning, given that he'd had just one match since the previous one with Lesnar, but those questions were quickly and emphatically answered in Brooklyn. This was the best that Taker had looked for a good while, and Brock was certainly game, the two going at it hammer and tongs for 17 thrilling minutes before Lesnar passed out in the Hell's Gate in a controversial finish. Tremendous stuff bell to bell, however, they would arguably top it inside Hell in a Cell just a couple of months later. Number 5, Shawn Michaels vs. John Cena on Raw. While the Battle of the Billionaires involving Donald Trump and Mr. McMahon may have received the bulk of the publicity leading up to the event and was credited with drawing the record-setting buy rate, it was John Cena and Shawn Michaels who went on last at WrestleMania 23. The Heartbreak Kid gave the WWE champion a wrestling lesson that night, though Mr. WrestleMania came up short in his quest to win the gold. The match itself was damn good and more than merited its place on top of the bill. Michaels wouldn't get a straight-up singles title rematch, but he did get the chance to go one-on-one with Big Match John when Raw was taped from Earl's Court in London a few weeks later. The fact that it was a non-title affair should have telegraphed the outcome, but nobody watching could have likely predicted that HBK and Cena would go close to an hour in one of the best matches to ever air on weekly WWE TV. WrestleMania was good, sure, but this was just that much better, and a pleasant surprise for UK punters who had previously suffered through years of Tiger Alley Singh matches. Number 4, Rey Mysterio vs. Eddie Guerrero at Judgment Day 2005. The reliable pair of Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero were tasked with kicking off WrestleMania 21 the right way, the then WWE Tag Team Champions clashing in a contest based on friendly competition between partners. Though it was a good match by anyone's standards, it fell somewhat below the expectations set by the performers themselves, the disappointment etched on Latino Heat's face after Rey had beaten him. One of the things affecting match quality might have been Mysterio's custom-made mask, which came loose during the first tie-up and clearly distracted him throughout. There were no such distractions when the two men next clashed in televised singles combat. By then they had dropped the titles and Eddie had turned heel with a brutal beatdown, setting the stage for a heated grudge match at Judgment Day. This was no let's all shake hands and be friends exhibition. This was now personal, and the match at times resembled more of a brawl than their usual lucha-inflected efforts. The psychology, timing, and selling were all spot on, and the match built and built until Guerrero, out of desperation, walloped his opponent with a chair for the DQ, ensuring that the feud would continue, which was absolutely fine by me. Number 3, John Cena vs. JBL at Judgment Day 2005. Another WrestleMania 21 rematch took place at Judgment Day 2005, with John Cena defending his WWE title against the man he beat for it where the lights shine brightest. Their WrestleMania encounter had been rather weak, truth be told, and it felt like Cena winning was a formality after JBL's long tyrannical reign as champ. It couldn't hope to compete with the Money in the Bank ladder match, Shawn Michaels vs. Kurt Angle, or even, as a moment if nothing else, Batista beating Triple H for the World Heavyweight title. At Judgment Day, Cena and JBL stole the show with a bloody and brutal match fought under I Quit rules. With a lot more time and leeway and plunder to play with, the Doctor of Thugonomics and the Tall Texan put on what stands as one of either man's most compelling matches to date. Layfield was at his vicious best here, while Cena gave as good as he got, and you sit there wondering why didn't they do this at the biggest show of the year as they bash each other in the head with various objects. It also taught me the valuable lesson that bullies will also back down if you threaten to bray them with a semi-truck's exhaust pipe. Number 2, Steve Austin vs. The Rock at Backlash 1999. The first match to main event WrestleMania 3 times, The Rock vs. Steve Austin was a combination that never failed to deliver. Their Mania trilogy was excellent overall, yes, but of the 3, you would have to say their first meeting at WrestleMania 15 was the weakest of the bunch. Stone Cold himself has admitted to being somewhat distracted at the time due to going through a divorce, which resulted in a distracted Austin forgetting to bring the leather vest he wore for entrance gear with him to Philadelphia. WWE knew that Rock vs. Austin was money, of course, and rushed to book the rematch for Backlash. A rip-roaring slice of Attitude-era sports entertainment at its finest, this had all the wild brawling and theatrics that fans had come to expect from a WWE pay-per-view headliner at the time. Shane McMahon being implemented as the crooked special guest referee added an extra wrinkle and opened the door for added horseplay down the closing stretch. Austin overcame the odds and scored another big W over his rival before celebrating a job well done with some frosty cold beverages, which I can only assume were cans of Iron Brew. Number 1, Roman Reigns vs. Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, Night 2. And we finish off our little video with somebody finally finishing their story. Seriously, you needn't bother getting Cody Rhodes a Waterstones gift card anytime soon because the bloke takes forever to get through the chapters. At Mania 40, the American Nightmare challenged the Tribal Chief for the second consecutive year, with the odds stacked against Cody due to Reigns and The Rock beating him and Seth Rollins at Night 1, making this undisputed Universal WWE title clash Bloodline Rules. Well, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, I guess, because following an excellent outing, the Bloodline met their match and had their incessant interference countered first by Jey Uso, then John Cena, then Rollins, and finally, The Undertaker. Crucially, all these run-ins didn't directly lead to Cody winning the big one. He did that all on his own, surviving for over 30 minutes to hit a trifecta of Crossroads and end Roman's reign. The wrestling was top draw, the sports entertainment shenanigans added rather than subtracted, and the final 3 count was as cathartic as any we will likely ever see on the grandest stage. And you know what tops it all? Nobody threw a bloody rubber chicken in the ring this time.